Hi, it's Emma Watson, and I'm here with my friend and colleague Sue Hughes, who is also the co-developer of Light Life Living. Welcome, Sue.
Thank you, Emma. It's lovely to
Good
be here.
morning to you. You're back from Brussels, aren't you?
I am back from Brussels.
And you had a lovely time?
Wonderful time. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So, Sue, I was hoping today you could share some of your story of what got you to this point, what led you to develop this program, and perhaps if you could tell us a bit about your own journey with weight and food.
Well, I've had a dysfunctional relationship with food for as long as I can remember. It goes back right into my childhood. If I cast my mind back, I was probably 3 or 4 years old when I first became aware of not just eating to live, but living to eat. I don't need to go into all the details of family. It's their story, it's not mine. But I was certainly, one of my first real memories of having food in the wrong way for me was when I stole chocolates out of the Christmas quality street tin and then tried to fill it up so that nobody could see. And I was getting that sort of, how can I get away with it? How can I be secret about this? And yet it was the need for sugar for me. Sugar's a big, big thing for me. And it was that need for sugar, that need for comfort, that need for the taste in my mouth. And then, oh, why did I do that? So that was the first time I remembered that. Then I went to boarding school very young, and I struggled with that. I really struggled with it. And every term we got weighed. It was like a sort of ritual procession. Oh, how much did you weigh? How much did you weigh? And then I would get on the scales. And in retrospect, actually, for my age and for my height, I wasn't that much overweight. I was a little bit chubby, but so what? But it was a big deal. It was a big deal. And it was an even bigger deal when matron called me into the office and said, you need to come to the Monday Club. The Monday Club, where it was a ritual weekly weighing. So in and of itself, when I look back, they were trying to care for me in their own funny way, as they do in boarding schools. But it did me no good at all, that whole focus on food and that I was bad. It wasn't just that the food was bad, but I was bad and I had no control over it. So though that pattern, I think, continued with me, and to a very small measure continues with me today, though I have to say that today I'm free of an awful lot of that stuff, which is great. So back to school, and there were some other chubby people there. But my life at school, I would spend the whole term time making sure that I didn't eat too much and I missed lunch. And I was so pleased when I felt really thin and hungry. Yeah, really, I'd made it. And even so, the other girls who were naturally much slimmer than me, they were naturally slim, naturally happy, naturally agile. Oh, it was not a good time. So moving forward, this was the pattern that was set up, that I was in some way wrong to be who I was. It's not a good way to be. And food became my friend, my punishment, my identity. It sounds very melodramatic. I didn't dwell on it all the time, but when food was in front of me, I would. And I think probably, again, looking back to early childhood, we always used to have something sweet to finish a meal with. And so I've always focused on something sweet. I've kicked that now. I'm really chuffed.
So you've had this really complex relationship with food, Sue, that started incredibly young.
Yeah.
How did you start to get out of that? What happened?
Well, first of all, by more or less getting anorexic.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that, for me at the time, was a solution.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it wasn't a particularly healthy solution, but I'd learned that that feeling of hunger, that feeling of deprivation, that was what was going to get me love. That was what was going to get me what I needed. So actually, that was the beginning of it. And then the realization, actually, it didn't work. It didn't get me those things that I wanted, that I really needed. But that was the beginning of what I'd call my serious attitude with food, where I engaged my brain as well as all the other things going on inside me about how do I deal with this body of mine? Because I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, I really don't like what I see. And it didn't matter whether I was fatter or thinner. I just did not like what I saw. So deprivation, starvation was the first thing. And then there was the, oh, what the hell? Doesn't matter. Doesn't make any difference whether I eat or whether I starve. And so I ate and I ate and I ate and I ended up, oh, my heaviest was in UK terms about over 17 stone, which is about 240 pounds, convert that to kilos. Anyway, well over 100 kilos. And I started feeling the physical effects of that, and as well as the, I was aware that I really was overweight. And I had some tricky times in my life, but then I started on the slimming clubs.
Oh gosh, that sounds like it's going to be an interesting part of the story.
Well, do you know, there were many things about the slimming club I attended that was, I got the companionship to a degree. I lost weight. When I was younger, I lost weight really easily. So if anybody's watching this and they are premenopausal, address your issues now, because when you hit the menopause, everything slows down a bit. There are real positives about the menopause. It's really great. But I need to accept the fact that if any weight on me needs to shift now for health reasons, I just need to say, okay, it's going to take a bit longer. But just backtracking, yes, slimming clubs. So I joined. Great. And I got to where, more or less where I'd set my goal weight. And then I stopped going. I just stopped. I don't need this. No. I'm fixed. Off I went. On went the weight. And to cut a long story short, I must have rejoined 15, 20 times. The same story. And I got bored with the clapping for what was actually, I felt, not much of an achievement. And then I got really cheesed off with the people that appeared to lose weight for, when they were eating all the wrong things. Now, my belief is that there is no wrong food. It's just our feelings towards them. And are they helpful foods or are they less than helpful foods? And everything in balance is actually quite a good way to go. But for me, eventually, I just fell off the end of the slimming club thing, because I thought, this is not addressing what's inside. I'm really good. I'm really focused, perfectionist, achiever, setting goals, achieving goals, and then going, what now?
So it was kind of this mentality of you were really in it. And it was kind of all and then nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. But that, again, it did not address what was going on inside. I'd crashed with chronic fatigue about 10 years ago, and I'd been through all sorts of stuff with bereavement and a bit of a traumatic time. But food was always in the middle. It was like this sort of black widow spider. Okay, yes, you're doing all this stuff. Come back to me. And it was there because we need food to live. So food was there and it brought me in, and sometimes I enjoyed it. But most of the time I really didn't. It was there as my comfort. It was there. I mean, I remember sitting down and eating half a Christmas cake, probably. and feeling more and more ill, more and more ill. It was a sort of purging feeling. I never went down the bulimia track. I can't stand being sick. I have my limitations.
Me too. Me too. That was one line I never crossed.
It was one line I never crossed, but I
Yep.
can understand why people do.
Yeah.
Because there was this purging sense as I ate that cake. There was a relief in it when, the inevitable consequences of eating a load of Christmas cake with all the dried fruit and all that. I won't be too explicit, but I felt I deserved this punishment. So I realized when I crashed with chronic fatigue that food was somehow hooked into that as well. It was a very uncomfortable time, but a very cathartic time, because in order to get better from chronic fatigue, I actually needed to face reality. And the reality was that emptiness inside me. I'd been through periods of great stress, and eventually, emotionally, I'd just sort of shut down. So I didn't know what it was like to really feel. It sounds a bit melodramatic, but that was the felt sense of it. So with my recovery from chronic fatigue, I rejoined the human race in a way. I got back in contact with the reality of, yes, I'm overweight. Oh, so what? There was that sort of, yes, and it wasn't an issue. That wasn't the issue. But, yes, I'm fat, this is my issue. Actually, no, it wasn't. So again, I'm going to fast forward a bit, there was a lot of work that I did both on my own and with other people that enabled me to start to gain some perspective. So gradually, the weight itself started to come down.
So where did you start in those issues, Sue? Because there you were in the midst of all of this. Where did you begin?
I always began, if I was upset, I would begin with whatever was in front of me.
Okay.
I think it's as simple and as complicated as that. So I rejoined the Slimming Club, actually, and that was when I had my little revelation. I'm not sure this is working for me. There were other things that I did that were actually more helpful, because I actually do thrive. Even now, I thrive with a structure. So having a structure, and so that I know more or less what I'm eating on a day-to-day basis in a way that's good for my health. I also began to realize about how things changed and how things had to change gradually. I had these grandiose ideas about, right, I'm fixed. I've got over CFS. I'm fixed. I can now do anything. And so there were these great goals. Off I go. And I went, it's like the New Year's resolution. You start full of enthusiasm, but it falls flat because I wasn't realistic. And I think one of the things that I feel most passionately about is the nature of change. Because unless you're realistic about how you can change and make it tiny little incremental bits of change, you're actually going to go splat. I mean, this is in terms of practical action. There's lots of things that you can do. But for me, getting real with what the issue is, and then making tweaking the change. But of course, I'm impatient. I want instant results. But always, when I go loud there, I have to bring myself back to basics.
So how long have you actually been addressing this issue, Sue? Now, give us an idea of how long it's taken you to get from where you were to where you are now.
Well, I would say the beginning of the oh God, it's all my life. It's actually all my life. But when I started realizing I had a problem was probably in the mid-90s when I lost my mum.
Okay.
But where I've been making real progress has been in the past decade.
Okay.
And I am not the finished article. I am a sugar addict. I'm so highly susceptible to sugar. For me, I have to address that as a real issue, because I don't know what sugar does to me. I mean, I have done quite a lot of research on it, but it seems to go ping, right, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. And so for me, it's really not helpful. So I've cut sugar out of my diet. But I look back about 10 years. So when I was beginning to recover my complete self, who I am and how I could get the things that I needed, that I thought food would provide, it's about a decade. It's about 10 years since I've been working on this stuff. And I've had peaks and troughs, like we all do in everything. But gradually, the trajectory has got, first of all, more gentle. So the peaks aren't so high and the troughs aren't so low. But also, purely in terms of weight, it's gradually going. So
what else have you noticed in terms of your success around this? So the weights, you say, is reducing. What's happened for you emotionally and with this really complex relationship you had?
I have a sort of far more light relationship with it. And of course, light, it's all related. If you're a language nerd like I am, think, oh golly, here we go, we're into the light, we're into the heavy. But I have a far more light relationship with food. And so I no longer look at a plate of food and think I must actually engulf that food. I look at it and say, oh, okay, I can leave food on the shelf for far longer. It doesn't have that emotional draw to me that it used to have. It's far more neutral, because I think what's really changed for me, particularly in the last 2 years, is that I am right to wish to be at a healthy weight. It's good for me to be at a healthy weight. It is for my health that I am going to be a healthy weight. And I have that aim and that objective. But I don't weigh myself anymore. That for me is not helpful. It's helpful for others, but for me, it puts me back into that achiever, must reach that goal, must do this, and I think, no, thank you very much. I'm done with that. The most crucial thing emotionally for me was to understand that it's okay to look after myself. And that even as I say it today, it still has a residual sort of, what? Look after yourself? It still has that echo, but it's like an echo rather than that ghastly feeling in the pit of my stomach. You are not worthy. You must not look after yourself. You must look after other people, look after everyone else's needs, because apart from anything else, that will deflect you from your own. But no more. And I am very happy about that.
Fantastic, Sue. That is so good. Such a liberation.
Well, it is a liberation. But I do laugh at myself, because until the day I die, I will never be the finished product. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay too.
Made peace with that.
I've made peace with that.
So final question then, Sue, to wrap up. Where do you see this going for you next? What does the journey hold for you moving forward?
Well, the most exciting thing, and the thing that's actually made me focused on my own issues, is to deliver this course. Because I know, as a foodie, I know the number of people out there where we'd have those, the eyes would meet across the room. I understand what you're going through. I really do understand what's going on for you. And, we'll have the foodie chat, and there's a real liberation in just stating what's real. So running this course with you it's galvanized me to keep an eye on what I do myself. But also, I'm so excited at the prospect of being able to teach the tools that I've learned since becoming a therapist, and I hesitate to say the word expert. I'm not an expert in nutrition. I know enough, but
You're an
in
expert in living it, aren't you, Sue? Like
I'm
I,
an
like I am. I
expert in
was.
living
Yeah.
it and in moving forward
Yeah.
and in accepting myself for who
Mm.
I am. And okay, here I am. Let's move forward and let's make a change. And to enable other people to do that as well would give me the greatest joy.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I know we're out of time today, but I'd love to talk to you again with some more details on the program so people can find out exactly how that runs and what's involved. But thank you so much, Sue, for sharing your story today and for developing this program with me. I'm really excited about what's going to happen moving forward.
Yeah,
And
me
just
too.
finally, how can people contact you if they want to get in touch?
Okay, our website, lightlifeliving.com, will be online in the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, I can be contacted at, and I should have written it out, but I haven't, Sue at lightlifeliving.com, and Emma can be contacted at emma.lightlifeliving.com. So please do get in touch. And
Any
I will respond.
questions for Sue or for myself, let us know. Thank you again, Sue, for your time today, and we'll talk again soon.
Lovely. Thank you, Emma.
Bye for now.
Bye.